Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Pivot Podcast episode. So glad you could join us today. Once again, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Mr. Dan Jansen. How are you, sir?
Stoked. Absolutely stoked. Because this episode, we get to set up the rest of 2022. This is the episode where we're going to get a little bit deeper into how to prepare for the new year. Everybody's excited. The ball drops, and we're ready to go. Tracy, what are some of the things that you do to really get the new year into the right footing as far as trading goes?
Yeah, so starting the year out for success. That one is it's tough. It's taken me a long time to really fine tune my routine to make sure that I start my year out for success, start my day out for success, start my month out for success, etc. I think we talked last time or a couple episodes ago about, mindset and really looking back at last year and knowing what you did right, what you did wrong, congratulating yourself, letting things go. And I think that's the first step, is to really go through that stage of things, to really cleanse yourself of what happened last year. Last year was the last year. It's done. We're starting a new year, and you have to let it go. It can't carry into this year. You can't carry that baggage with you. And that's something that I've had to learn not to do, because I'm very hard on myself. And if there's anything that I was struggling with last year or didn't do right, I'm naturally going to want to carry that into the new year. And that's going to continue to make things worse. This is hard enough to do. I don't need to compete against myself. I don't need to make things more difficult than they need to be. So the first part, I think, is getting your mindset right. That's the key for me. The second is to just go through and make sure that I've got everything set up in accordance to what my accountant might need. So getting my actual trade journal set up and ready to go. So all my paperwork and my documentation and any of the tracking that I'm going to do is all set up and ready to go, so that I have a good path forward, and I'm not going to be getting behind. I know exactly where I am. I know exactly where I need to be. I have my goals set, and it's pretty much it. Now it's just a matter of executing my plan, right?
Well, so let me backtrack a little bit. Because this is how to set up for success, what to you defines success?
It's a great question. Success to me is setting up your goals, whether they be, I start out with yearly goals, and then I break down monthly goals that fall in line with those yearly goals. And then I break down weekly goals to fit those monthly goals, which fit the yearly goal. And then I fit daily goals, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I have no expectation of winning every single day. That's not reasonable. It's not rational, and it's not possible. But I do have weekly, monthly, and yearly goals. So I have those set up, and they are realistic goals. Those are goals that have been set through practice, through back trading, through experience, through prior trading years, etc. So I have benchmarks that I know I can achieve. And from there, success is whether or not I'm hitting those goals and following my plan. Okay, so I may not meet each goal that I look at has got a deviation on either side. So it's not like you got to get this exact number or you fail. It's I've got to get within this range of my goal, and if I'm getting within that range of my goal, then I'm meeting it. And then I'll assess it quarterly, and then again midway through the year, and then at the end of the year. So for me, having a plan, having a goal, first of all, having a plan on how to execute and get to that goal, and then whether or not I'm reaching each of those benchmarks along the way towards my final goal. That's to me success. How about you?
So mine's similar. I think when coming up with any type of plan or strategy or anything like that, you have to know what it is you're trying to get to, right? So you have to know, like, if you want to be a successful trader, you should probably define what success is, right? So I think, and it could be a dollar number, like I need to make X, Y, this much money for the year. And then my question would be like, why? Like, why is that number? Because the dollar amount doesn't really matter. Like, honestly, it doesn't. But why is that number so important to you? It could be, I need to make 100,000 this year. It could be $1 million. Why is that number so important? Like, what are you trying to do with that money? Like, what is that money going to do for you? And I think, and I think this is important because diving deeper into why that number is so important and what you do with it helps actually control a lot of your emotions throughout the year. And it also helps to put you on a much better, stronger plan. Because honestly, if I'm trying to make $1 million this year, and I have no reason as to why I need $1 million, it just sounds like a nice, fun number, and there's no like real actual goal behind the number, then why not 2 million? Why not 5 million? Why not 6 million? Like, why stop at $1 million? So eventually, at times, I think when people set up, and I think this is the downfall of the New Year's resolution, is a lot of people go, I need to have a six pack by February, and you're like, why? Like, why? And then they start, by the time January ends, they still have their one pack. Well, it might be a little more toned and fit, but they're still a big way off of their six pack. And then they're like, all right, it's not working, and they end up throwing the towel and giving up. It's not so much that they couldn't get a six pack; it's just their expectations as to when they get their six pack might be realistically unattainable, right? So if for me, if I throw out numbers and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's just make $1 million this year. Yeah, that's a good goal, but as soon as January ends and I'm not even close, because I start with a $50,000 account that year, trying to get $1 million in my account, it's just so unattainable as to the goal, where you end up getting discouraged, and you might have great trades throughout the year, but you don't see it as a good trade, right? You don't see yourself in a driver's seat for, yeah, I'm really hitting those goals. When the people that achieve their goals, they're the ones that feel success. They feel like they've accomplished something and they're on that path, and that's going to give them more motivation. So I think step one really comes down to defining what you want to do, like what success is for you really, besides the money, why you're trying to trade in the first place, and then have realistic expectations as to what that will do, because that's going to help motivate you, not discourage you along the path. And then the same way you said, as far as like the breakdown, like, okay, now I have a goal, right? And maybe it's because I want to get an investment house. I want to get a house to live in. I've got my kids' school I want to pay for. I got XYZ, right? And that would make me feel good to accomplish those tangible goals. That, to me, I have more meaning behind the actual path to getting there. Like, it just feels better. And then, maybe I don't need $1 million. Honestly, maybe I don't need $1 million. Maybe to achieve the goals, this is a realistic number. Maybe I could round up a little bit and have some free money to play with, whatever the case. And now I have a real goal based on the certain account size that I might start with, to actually hit those certain goals throughout the month, the year. And again, that will also make me not take extra aggressive trades, because I'm trying to hit some arbitrary number that I just threw out there January 1st. And that will help me stay on path. So I know that about myself. I think that's true about a lot of people as well. And I find success comes a lot easier and better when I have a real tangible goal that I'm searching for. So that to me is step one. And then once I have that, then I do the same thing. I'm looking to break down, all right, monthly, how do I accomplish that? Like, where do I need to be in 6 months? Where do I need to be this month? Where do I need to be this week? And going off of day to day, you might as well just shoot yourself in the foot, because if you're like, I need to make $1,000 a day, like, yeah, anybody can make $1,000 a day trading, especially depending on the bigger your account size is, the more achievable it is. But you're going to have, like you said, you're going to have those losing days. So just because you have that losing day, if you have, I need this certain dollar amount today, and it doesn't happen, the next day you're completely discouraged getting into it, because now you feel like I need $2,000 a day. And it's you're putting yourself into a big uphill battle. So while it's important to monitor the day-to-day activity and process, it's much better to look at a little bit further out, as far as like, are you still in the range of getting, like, by the end of January, are you still in range of hitting your target? If not, could we do something a little bit different, as opposed to looking at, the minute chart on your goal and it just fluctuates back and forth, and you're having a heart attack each and every time the bell rings in the morning. So I think it's having the realistic goals, set it up, write it down, put it on paper, and then work to achieve those goals.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Are there any other things other than goal setting that you do that would set you up for success?
Yeah, so I think once I establish the goal, like a realistic goal, I'm breaking down like, okay, I need this. I can set a number, like I said, let's say it's $1,000 a day, or so I would say, okay, I need $5,000 a week on trading, right? Just all hypothetically, that would make me reach a certain goal that I'm trying to get to. I know it has nothing to do with me just wanting it. I have to put the work in. So for me, a lot of times I'm like, okay, I was back trading last year, maybe 4 hours a week. I was able to achieve XYZ amount of dollars. My goal is growing, so I'm going to have to do a little bit more work. Like, what if I take 3 hours of back trading, and this year I'm going to every single day put in 6 hours of day trading? How much more progression can I make in my trading plan that will help get me there? So it's a lot about the learning portion of it, because again, what me just saying I need $1,000 and hoping the mailman comes with a $1,000 check, I mean, that would be fantastic if it happens, but most likely it's not unless I'm going to put the work in. So for me, I want to make sure that I could get on the same level as far as, okay, what work has to be achieved on my end to be able to do that. The other things I'm looking for is, okay, what don't I know about the market, right? If I'm day trading and I'm not familiar with options, maybe I want to start to learn and expand on options. If I'm good at options, maybe I want to do spreads. If I'm good at spreads, okay, what's the crypto market doing? Can I learn something else, and what will it be that I want to learn? And I'll put that in place for me as far as I have this, I made XYZ last year, my goal is this. The only way for me to get there is either have bigger dollar amounts on trades, learn something else, strategize maybe a little bit differently. And just by tweaking certain things, you're able to make your goal that much more reachable.
Perfect. Now, do you do anything to kind of put a cushion in for the beginning of the year so that you can start off profitable?
Yeah, so I know we talked about this a little bit on the last episode, but yeah, very, very similar. I'll typically try to get a little more aggressive at the end of the year once a cushion's built. But I don't really look at last year as a cushion. I do, but I know for me when I'm December 31st of this year, I'm going to be looking back and I'm going to be like, okay, did I hit my goal? Yes or no? Right? And there's really no gray area. It's either you hit your certain goals or you didn't. So for me, it's really starting day one of the January 3rd when the market opens. Whether last year was successful or not, I'm coming in this year. So like, yes, technically in the career of you day trading, you have the cushion from last year. But at the beginning of the year, January, I do want to get a little bit more conservative as far as trades. I want to take only the best setups that I can find. Maybe be a little more aggressive as far as targets go. Take more partials, because for me building up that cushion in January, now I have an authentic. At the end of the year, I'm going to say, okay, great. I built a little cushion in January. February, maybe I could get a little more aggressive. Maybe I could shoot for a little bit higher of a target, stay in a trade a little bit longer, and then kind of progress. And then if I'm able to do that and keep building that cushion, it makes the next month more profitable. Where if I come in and go, I crushed it last year, I'm up 340% in returns from last year trading. But then I have that same mindset, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go real heavy in the beginning because I have the cushion from last year. If I give back the full cushion from last year, then not only did I not hit goals this year, but that means I wiped out last year too. So I kind of look at it as you have a new 12-month progression. The same way when I first put my first dollar into a trading account, it's the same similar feel to it. The only difference is it's probably not just $1 I'm putting in. I'm putting in a little bit more because the account's been built. And on top of that, I'm now stacked with a lot more education than I even had 12 months ago, as far as what type of setups I like, what works, and things like that. So Yes, building the cushion is huge. I know we talked about it. I know you like to get on that cushion train as well.
I do. And actually, what I was referring to is actually not closing out all your trades on December 31st or not having all your trades closed out in December,
The
carrying
sandbag
them
trader.
over. Yeah, carrying them over into January so you can close them in January and then start out in the green. Now, I typically try to do that. I try to do that month to month and even week to week. I try to do that.
Right.
But year to year, I like to do that. I like to start the year off green if I can. This year, I was not able to do that. I didn't. A lot of my swings, just because of the way the market was, a lot of my swings are not. They weren't closable at the time. So that's where I shift into the gear that you were just talking about, which is being much more critical about the trades that I'm taking at the beginning of the year, making sure that I'm taking certain trades. I'm much more cautious, and I will start to build that account up. And as the year progresses, I'll become more aggressive and more aggressive day after day after day, kind of thing. So it's the same thing, just a different way of getting there, and it depends on what you have available to you. But I really like the ability to hang on to trades from one I guess 1 month and carry it over into the next month to help set you off that way.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I agree. I think even the mentality of that, just knowing like the beginning of the month, you're able to close out some swings from a previous month, and you're locking in because you're recording the wins in the month you close them. That okay, I'm in a good foot. Like I could kind of play around. I have a little cushion, so yeah, I like that when the opportunity comes. That would be more of the swing trades or pyramids or something like that. Obviously, you're not carrying a day trade over from January 31st into February 1st, because that means you're not day trading correctly for sure. But yeah, any of those swings or a little bit longer term than a day type plays for sure. That's a strong move.
Now, you mentioned that you will start taking partials or start taking targets a little bit sooner.
Yep.
Is that typical throughout the year or just at the beginning of the year where you would do that?
That's till I could build a cushion. Yep.
Okay.
So if I'm starting the beginning of the month, even if I could lock in half an hour on a trade, like if it's starting to say hesitate a little bit, I'll be a little bit quicker with my stops, move them up there, try to not lose a full R as much as possible, and then take like I'm still trying to get like 1.2 on trades, but we've all been in trades and it starts to kind of go the other way. You see the candles forming, and you might so when you're trading, you're typically trying to let the trade play out. I might take those R's a little bit sooner in the beginning of the month because if I take 2 half-hour trades, something very small, the next trade that I take, I mean, even if I like that, I could definitely go for a 1.2 because even if I lose that trade and I lose a full R, all right, I'm just back to where I was in the first place, and I'll just reset, try to take some smaller wins, build a little cushion. As Jeremy says, stack the wood. So if I'm able to do that, then I'm able to kind of slowly grind. Now if I'm up like 2 Rs, 3 Rs, all right, well now I could definitely be going for a 2 R trade. Like, yeah, let's try to get a 1.5 R. Let's try to get 2 Rs. And then if by like a few months in I have a decent progression on my goal, all right, maybe I want to try to go for like a 2.4 or 3 R trade, like try to hit some ballpark plays and try to make it work. So it's all about mentality. But if I come in January 1st and I'm trying to hold for a 3 R trade, if it works, great. But if it doesn't, my first trade of the year, I'm down an R. It's not the end of the world. But now the next trade that you get, yeah, definitely closing it at 1.2. Just try to get positive and slowly just battle because the market every single day is going to be a battle for you. So if you're able to get out ahead, even by a little bit, the next fight you get into, you're set up for a good strong win because even if you lose, it doesn't hurt as much. You don't have to fight the next round that much harder.
I do like that. I don't do that the same way that you do. I actually play the same way every single trade, no matter what.
Yep.
And I don't know, that might be a downfall, but I find it works for me, so I continue to do it that way. The only time I would change the way that I exit a trade is if I'm counter trend trading. So if I'm counter trend trading, then I'm going to take those targets right as soon as I get them. I'm not going to try and hold for that big swing trade. But otherwise, when I'm trading, doesn't matter what time of the year, I'm trading the same way regardless. And like I said, we'll see if it works. may not always work for me, but it does work for me. But I do like what you're doing. I
Yeah.
like that idea of holding that
Well,
cushion.
yeah, I mean, you're being consistent. Like you found out previous years by you just taking the same trades and doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, it works, right? The only thing that's different is some weeks work better than others, right? There's some weeks where you get in, you're like, okay, everything's hitting, like this is crazy, like something's not. It's an uncomfortable amount of success, very weird. And then others, like you're doing the same exact thing, and it's just they're not working. So my thing is for me, and again, it's more like I don't know that there's a wrong way to do it as long as you know what your plan is. For me, the trading comes down to really three parts. It comes down to how to read the charts, how to read the volume, like understanding entry stops, all that stuff. I'm familiar with that. Like that's easy. It's not easy. It just takes time to learn. Like, but anybody can learn to read the charts. The second thing would be mentality of like how you wake up in the morning. Are you positive? Are you negative? Did you get into a fight with somebody earlier that day? Like that's going to affect your trading. If you came off of a loss the previous year, previous month, previous day, that's going to be taken into your psyche a little bit, and that's going to affect your trades. And then the third part is just money management. And I think if you could understand for me at least, the money management portion of things, and just know like anytime you're taking a trade, you're really trying to get a 1-to-2 ratio. But if you're able to take free trades, like I love free trades. When I get into a trade and I'm able to move my stop to break even, I'm gonna let that thing ride. I don't even care. Like the market's giving me a free trade. I want to see how far I could take this trade. So for me, it's the same thing. When I start my month, my day one of trading, I want to see if I could get, even if I'm building a little cushion. And again, it depends. And like I'm not taking every trade for like a half hour. But if I'm seeing like, okay, there's a little bit of extra resistance than I thought, I will definitely be a little quicker or take higher. Like instead of maybe taking a 10% partial, maybe I'll take like a 25% partial. Just because at least I'm not losing the first couple trades. And if it does go against me, all right, so be it. I mean, it would have happened no matter how aggressive or not aggressive I'm going to be. The trade just didn't work. But I'm able to kind of just keep that mentality going, just to no matter what, go profitable. And it's a weird concept to some. It was to me at first, but just doing it over and over and be like, okay, yeah, even if I take a smaller win, it's okay. Like even if I take a half hour win, the next trade, technically the most I could lose is half hour. Right? I'm risking an hour on the trade, but I'll only be down half hour, and that's easy to pull back on the next one. So it's just that mentality. So I build a cushion very, very slowly.
Yeah, no, and I like it. I'm gonna have to look at possibly changing things up just to accommodate a little bit. But like I said, I stick to what works for me, and we'll see. But anyway, it's good. Is there now you mentioned, I'm trying to remember what it was, what your exact words were, but anyway, is there any other thing that you need to get done at the beginning of the year to kind of get you set for success? You've set goals, you're building a cushion. Is there anything else that you need to kind of line up for success?
Yeah, I mean, I would say those are definitely the main things as far as trading goes. I almost don't even want to talk about the other one, but but just because it's so everybody's doing it like the beginning of the year. But like I said, there's three parts to trading, and I think the mentality portion of one is good. Like if you're feeling good, you're going to be trading a lot better. If you're feeling miserable that day, you're just in a bad mood. Everybody gets them. Everybody has them. I'm not immune to them, unfortunately, but those are tougher days to trade. Like it's those are the days you're just not so much the setups themselves, but like how you trade, like how aggressive. Like I just can't wait. I just need to be in a trade. I want to be done with this already. Like you're just more likely to break rules. So for me, it is definitely the eating right, just the taking care of yourself, because there's that reminder, and that's why I don't even want to talk about it, because everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and blah blah blah, and then they quit and they stop, right? And the ones that succeed in a year from now, they feel great about themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just what can I do in my personal life, whether it's eating better or can I cut something out that would, I was doing before that is not really a positive for me. I get no life positives. It's just negative and, stuff like that. I just want to kind of cut that out and
Hmm.
grow on some of the positives, reinforce the positives. And if I'm able to do that, the longer I could do that. And again, even if it's just like trading, if you do one thing, if I could add one positive thing to my life this year, out of maybe if I start off with 10 goals of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be in great shape, feel good, I'm going to swim 17 miles every single day. You know what? Even if I swim half a mile a day and I don't hit my 17, I'm still much better than I was last year. I'm still going to feel better about myself waking up every single day because I'm just in a better mindset. So the
Hmm.
three things that I really look for in the markets is obviously the charts. So taking any additional education I can, like what else can I learn this year that I wanted to or haven't got the chance to last year? For me, coming up with the goals, defining success, being able to say, okay, here's the breakdown of my plan. This is how I'm going to achieve it. And that it would include the money management portion of how I trade. And then the mentality thing of you want to feel good when you're really doing anything. It doesn't have to be trading. You just kind of want to feel good because I think the outcome of your production is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, I think that it's really key for people to recognize as well that you don't need to wait until you are in a hole to start asking for help or being proactive. That's the way I look at it. Being proactive at the beginning of the year is going to help you have a really good year as well. That's my opinion. So, next week or January 24th, we're going to be starting the free week with RLT. So that's a good opportunity for you to kind of test that out. There's mentorships available through our program. There's free beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes. So there's a lot of education. All of these are things that you can start to do now that can get you set up for success instead of waiting until you're struggling and then reaching out for help. So that's another thing to consider as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you said, the education is free. The education is a huge part of it because there's even like I said, if you're back trading, you find yourself you were back trading when you first started and you're going crazy and constantly every single night back trading, and then that kind of fell off. Even if it just reduced like throughout the year, all right, maybe look at like if you want to hit a bigger goal than you did last year, do something. Like just do something, do anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just take the opportunity. I mean, you can go on a Trading View; it's absolutely free. They have a whole back program, which I think is a phenomenal actual back trading program. So I would go on there, like be like, cool. My goal is I'm going to do an extra 30 minutes a day. All right, how much time is that really taking out of your day? I mean, you could be watching The Simpsons for 30 minutes, or you could be back trading. So those it's just what you do with your time is going to help get you to the goal. If you're doing the same thing you were doing last year, and again, not that you were a bad trader last year, not that you didn't make money last year, not that all that's true. But if your goal is exactly the same as it was last year, then do the same thing. Just repeat it. But if your goal is to grow as a trader, as a human, be able to have more freedom of time, have more money to be able to help others, help charities, help whatever the case, you're not going to grow if you stay complacent. You have to be able to constantly work on okay, where was the biggest waste of my time last year? And I got a lot of them, so I got a whole list. That would take me a whole day to figure out the biggest waste of times that I've done. But what could I piece out? And it doesn't have to be everything. I mean, you still got to do something for enjoyment, entertainment, relax yourself. It's therapeutic at some points. But did you have to do that much? Could you reduce it? Could you fit in an extra 30 minutes of back trading? Could you go on and take an extra course? Could I sign up with Tracy Ball's mentor group and be able to for an hour a week for 8 weeks, be able to understand a different point of view? Worst case scenario, understand a different point of view of how somebody else successfully trades. Do I think that's going to help me in a long-term process that won't just help me this year, but now I could carry that into next year for an even bigger goal, even bigger growth? So it's the small things that get you a long way. And I've said it before, a lot of people are just they want to be professional everything. I can guarantee you the first time a lawyer, even with all of the training and schooling and all this stuff, the first time he stands before a judge representing a client for a serious crime, you don't think he has butterflies in his stomach. You don't think he's like, oh man. But 10 years from now, just by repeating the process, doing it over and over again, he's a lot more comfortable. He's that a little bit more cocky lawyer that stands there and he knows what he's doing because he's done it so many times. It's the same thing. It's just you have to repeat the process over and over again, and then just kind of figure out ways in your life to implement something else in there. And again, it could be small, just to set you and start pushing in the right direction a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, that has been another episode of the Pivot Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. And do you want to, I guess, say goodbye?
Yeah. Well, once again, Tracy, awesome co-hosting with you each and every week. Thank you guys to each and every one that tune in every single week. And if this is your first week, don't feel bad. Just listen to the podcast previous. Go back. We've done a lot of them. So that should be that 30 minutes every single day that you could do something and try to get some value out of. And once again, we do have all our links. Stay in contact with us. Shoot us an email. Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter. And we have the link in right below here to hit Real Life Trading and be able to take advantage of some of the education, the classes, the mentorship groups, the live trading rooms. There's just, honestly, there's too much to cover. But we will see you guys all on the next Pivot Podcast. See you guys.